Hello，你好，晚安，欢迎回来，Welcome back, and good evening. This is Wisdom Wednesday with Johnny Tiger on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021. We talked about many facets of Chinese culture and uh, food from Chinese culture before, including condiment such as vinegar, and I believe we talked about soy sauce. Today, I want to talk about another very, very important item, uh, staple in the Chinese pantry, Chinese kitchen, uh, that is in some ways a little bit more unexpected, but just as culturally important as the rest. In a Chinese kitchen, there are seven things, or at least this is how it was in the old days, seven most important staples that you can't do without in your kitchen if you want to have a well-stocked kitchen. These seven items are chai, chai means firewood, so you need that to make fire, of course, in the old days. And nowadays, even though you don't need firewood anymore, you do at least need to stock up on batteries and things that might help you if the power was to go out. So chai, is uh, energy source, firewood. Second is mi, mi means rice, rice. Now, uh, some people are probably saying, wait. I thought rice is fun, Fun, fun. Well, rice is so important, apparently, it's so important to Chinese people that there's a word for it before it's cooked and a word for it after it's cooked. After it's cooked, it's fun. Before it's cooked, it's me. So chai and mi are the first two most important things, the staples in Chinese kitchen. The third is you, yo, you, uh, means oil, cooking oil, olive oil, uh, peanut oil, whatever you need to cook your food with. That's the third most important item. You means oil. Number four is yan, IAN, like the word, like the name Ian. You just say it fast. Yan means salt. Salt is the fourth most important item in Chinese kitchen. Number five is something we talked about already. Jiang, Jiang. Jiang means soy sauce. And number six is Chu, means vinegar. Now, it's the number seven that is the most controversial because a lot of people who are from a newer generation, they often get this one wrong. When they name the seventh item, they often say sugar, tang, Tong, sugar. While sugar is very important in most pantries, one may be surprised to learn that sugar is not among the top seven Chinese kitchen essentials. In fact, you'll find that Chinese people, for the most part, don't do a lot with sugar. We have sweet treats and dessert, but most of the time those were done with fruit or honey. Very, very rarely, uh, until modern history, at the very least, Chinese people did much with sugar. In fact, for most of the historical record, uh, Chinese people just had never placed sugary food as of high import. So sugar is important in many kitchens, but not so much so in a Chinese kitchen. Take my kitchen, for example. I eat so little sugar that I can buy a kilogram bag of sugar, and it actually lasts over 3 years. Like my sugar lasts so long that it actually crystallize and get hard and turn to fossils. And I need to, when I actually need sugar, I need to take a knife and something to hit it with to like chisel it, so it will come apart, so I can use it. That's how long sugars last in my kitchen. So in most Chinese kitchens, sugar is one of those things that just not really all that important. Um, so item number seven, it's not sugar. Uh, what it is cha, C-H-A, tea, Chinese green tea, black tea, red tea, depending on, but tea, it has to be have tea. A complete Chinese kitchen must have tea. So today we're going to talk about tea. Of the seven uh, kitchen essentials, tea is the only item that was sold apart from the rest. For the most part, if you go to a store that sold vinegar in the old days, nowadays, of course, the stores sell everything and anything. But in the old days, there were specific stores that you go to buy your condiment with. Uh, they called them 油盐店, means uh, store for oil and salt. But they didn't just sell oil and salt. They sold vinegar. They sold uh, 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 soy sauce. They sold firewood. They did not, however, sell tea. You need to go to a special tea shop to buy your tea. Why is that? Because tea is one of these things that will take on the taste and smell of whatever you put it near. It's really, really notorious in soaking up flavors from other unintended things, which means if you have tea too close to vinegar, well, gradually people is going to complain that your tea, your jasmine tea, don't taste like jasmine, tastes like vinegar. If you have your oolong tea too close to your soy sauce, well, you can just imagine what it's going to be like somewhere down the road. Obviously, it's not going to matter overnight. But I have actually that happened to me before, where I have a box of tea in the same cupboard where I put other herbs like rosemary, and then a year later, that box of tea, when I tried it, it started to taste weird. It started to take on the aroma of rosemary. So tea is very bad for that. So you got to be very careful to keep your tea separate from other, especially more fragrant or aromatic or things that have a more unique flavor or taste. This is why those 油盐店, those oil and salt stores, they would sell all the other condiments, but they wouldn't sell tea. Chinese people have made drinking tea into an art and a half. Like if you ever been to a Chinese tea ceremony, it's very involved. You got to hold it a certain way, and you cannot drink it after you poured hot water on it the first time. You have to make your tea, and then you pour it out, and then you make it again, and you drink the second draft. And depending on the tea, the type of tea, you drink it before meal, and the other tea you drink it after meal. Some tea you can use boiling water, and some tea you cannot use boiling water. There's a lot to it. Like I don't even begin to understand the most very basic. I can only give you some of the more uh, basic and interesting fact that I have come across. Uh, One of the things that is quite interesting is the culture of uh, cultivating your teapot, cultivating the teapot. A lot of time when you see auctions where they're auctioning off antique or very expensive items, you'll see teapots, and these teapots look really awful. Right? These are like old teapots, and they look like they've never been washed before. There's gunk on the side, and uh, uh, there's like black and brown smudges all over the inside from thousands and thousands of time it's been used for tea, and it's like people just never washed it. And if you take home and wash it, if you decide, oh, this is so gross, I'm going to wash it, then congratulations, you just demoted what might have been a $10,000 teapot back down to $10. Uh, it doesn't even have to be an antique. The value of that particular teapot is in how many tea it has served and how much flavor it has taken on from the tea. Now, these have to be teapots made of clay or ceramic or wood, obviously. You get a metal teapot, really doesn't matter. You get a plastic teapot, it really doesn't matter. And so these have to be porous material that can actually soak up residues from the tea. It is said that a good teapot that has been cultivated and made and flavored in enough tea making, you can pour just regular hot water in it, and it will still taste like tea. That's how uh, much flavor that teapot would have soaked up. So it's almost like a sacrilege to wash teapot like that because sometimes it take years, sometimes it take tens of years or 100 years for a family to get a teapot to that level of uh, flavor, uh, uh, that level of uh, uh, tea-ness. That's not even a word, but you get what I say. It take a lot to get a teapot to be that flavorful, that able to hold flavor. So if you ever go to a Chinese family and then you notice that they have a dirty teapot on the shelf or on the table, don't just go wash that off because they may get really mad at you because they might have just spent the last 10 years trying to get that teapot to soak up flavors of all the expensive tea and stuff like that. And you might have just ruined that and wasted their last 10 years of work. When you go to China or Taiwan, you will see a lot of vendors, roadside vendors selling tea. And if you didn't know what this is about, you might mistaken them for just your regular roadside vendor selling something like beverage, like Coca-Cola or root beer, something that you might want if you're just thirsty. And it might catch you off guard if you go to one of these tea vendors and then they ask you, okay, what's wrong with you? What ailment do you need to cure? You may have a WTF moment. You might have thought that you just run into a witch doctor or something. But no, these people they are not medical doctors, but they are tea experts. That's the very nice way to put it. Some of them are charlatans, some of them are crooks. But the ones that really know what they're doing, that really key experts, they don't have a medical degree, they don't have a doctorate degree, they don't have a science degree, but they know so much about the teas that they sell that if you tell them what's wrong with you, they can sell you the tea that's going to make you feel better. Now, obviously, it's not going to cure cancer or cure PTSD or something like that. But if you tell them, for example, you say I have insomnia, I can't sleep, they can sell you the tea to put you to sleep. If you say, I have indigestion, they can sell you the tea to cure your indigestion. If you tell them that I been having diarrhea, well, they can sell you the tea to cure that as well. So a little everyday thing, they can always find the tea to recommend for you. They even have tea that supposedly help you lose weight and build muscles and all that fashion and beauty related stuff. Teas that will remove your pimples, teas that will make your hair grow faster, yada yada yada. But I personally don't know if those tea work as they claim. But I will tell you from personal experience, when they tell you that they can sell you the tea to uh, help you not be constipated, that really, really, really works. Like I said, personal experience, and that sometimes can lead to funny but crazy incidences where uh, someone who is constipated buy a jug of this tea, and let's say he gets home and he drinks only drink about half of it, and immediately it's working, and he has to dash to the bathroom, and he's staying in there. There's a lot coming out. Well, there's half a jug of tea sitting on the table. Uh, a family member come in, they may be really thirsty. They see the tea there, they pour some out and drink, and immediately it started working on them. But someone is already occupying the bathroom. So, yeah, the thing misunderstanding like that can lead to very drastic consequences. So, if you buy a tea that is aimed at an ailment or to do something, please be responsible and label it or let people around you know that this is tea for a special purpose, so other people won't get some unintended side effects. As I said, when it comes to tea, ways of drinking tea, ways of making tea, ways of pouring tea, and ways of storing tea, there's just so much in Chinese culture that there have been books written about it, there have been university courses designed around them. There's been emperors and noblemen and noble women and uh, people high and low uh, learning them, studying them, coming up with new ways every year just to keep the tea culture going. So much so that even tea houses are not as simple as they seem. In Chinese history, there have always been many different varieties of tea houses, and today I'll give you a few examples of tea houses, just so you understand that when you want to go to a tea house, you can't just say I want to go to a tea house. You need to know what are you doing, what you are looking for. Otherwise, you might find a tea house that is not what you thought it was. One, number one, is the uh, club tea house. Club tea house work like comedy clubs and performance halls. You go there and you order tea, and usually they have uh, live performance, either storyteller or comedians or uh, uh, little uh, 1 or 2 man drama skits, or sometimes they have musical performances. So these places you go, you order tea, you sit quietly and listen to the performances. You don't go there to chat. It's not a place that you want to go and have a good conversation with your friend, because other people are going to get really annoyed with you if you are trying to carry on a conversation while they're trying to listen to a storyteller or comedian. These places usually don't serve full meals. They'll serve peanuts and cookies and something small for you to munch on while you're enjoying the performance. The second type is scenery tea house. Scenery tea houses, they are built on tourist traps, usually at the top of a mountain or on some very impressive waterfall. These tea houses are notoriously expensive and usually don't have a great deal of selection. You don't go there to drink tea. You're there for the scenery. You're there to be impressed by Mother Nature. You're there to uh, look around. So, the as far as what you are going to get from what you pay, these scenery tea houses are not going to give you your money worth, but they are always built somewhere that is very, very uh, touristy, somewhere that has a lot to look at. The third type of tea house is the how should we say it? This is a noble tea house, the high class, the classy tea house. Classy tea houses are places that you go specifically to hang out and be seen. People sit at classy tea houses hours and hours, uh, and there's very little conversation. But some people will play chess or checker. Some people will show off their latest fashion. This is like a high class golf club where you go, you can be seen with some important people. You have some very discreet business dealings. Uh, and one very interesting fact about classy, high class tea houses is a lot of time they expect you to bring your own tea. They have tea that they will serve you, but they are very, very expensive, and most of the time they do tell you to bring your own because uh, they believe that only real connoisseurs of tea would come to this kind of tea house. Now, if you know your tea so well, then obviously you would have a kind of tea that you prefer, and you know what blend and what uh, texture and how you like it made. So if you bring your tea, they'll make it for you. That is this type of classy tea house. They serve their tea in tiny little cup, like the kind of tiny little cup that you see sometimes in Japanese restaurant. You finish your tea in like one gulp, and then you have to pour again, and then finish again in one gulp. Those places, you don't go there to satisfy your thirst. You drink your tea very slowly, you sip it like you would a very fine wine. And like I said, you spend hours in these places to socialize and to establish network and connection. Next, we have the commoner tea house. These are usually tents or hole-in-the-wall places on the side of marketplaces, market squares, city squares, side of the road. And these places cater to honest working folk that do want tea because they're thirsty. So these places, they don't have very expensive tea. They have your very generic uh, pure or oolong or jasmine, but don't expect some really fancy stuff from them. And they will give you your tea in gigantic uh, bowls or gigantic mugs, like a beer mug or beer stein. And they're very cheap, but of course the quality of the tea is not very good. These places usually don't serve food, but usually there are food vendors very nearby. So these commoner tea houses and food vendors do coexist and they know to build on each other. The food vendors know a lot of people that come to these places that might be hungry, might be looking for something to eat, and these tea merchants know that people who frequent these roadside food vendors usually get really thirsty because food vendors, street food can be really salty. So these tea merchants will set up the tea shop or tea houses right near where there's food to be found. Last but not least, perhaps the strangest of all the tea houses is a tea house called uh, Safe House. Safe House, exactly what it's exactly what it sounds like. It's where people go to hide from their trouble. Uh, Usually, people who run safe house tea houses are very well connected. They have very good credibility. They are very respected. They have their connection with law and with criminal element, so they can deal both on the legal front, and also they have some clout on the illegal market. What is the deal with safe houses? They are mostly tea houses that you go to avoid people from collecting debt. It is said that tea houses, the safe house tea house, is like a neutral ground. You cannot, you cannot collect debt there. You cannot look for personal vendetta there. So usually, uh, if you piss someone off really bad, or if you owed a lot of debt and the debt collector knocking down your door every day, uh, you want to try to make your way to one of these safe house tea houses. While you're there, while you're paying for food and tea, uh, they guarantee that you will not be harassed. No one can go in there to harass you. A lot of people who owe gambling debts and people who owe money to loan sharks end up spending an awful lot of time in one of these almost underground, almost secret society safe house tea houses. So these are just a few examples of all the different kinds of tea houses there is in Chinese culture. And uh, if you don't know. If you just walk into one of these places, you may be surprised that some of them will serve food, some of them won't serve you food, and some of them expect you to bring your own tea, and some of them have super expensive tea, and uh, you may find yourself kind of lost as to what's going on here. Now, by the time I was a teenager, another type of tea house came into being. Although this tea house is highly criticized and mostly not recognized by the tea society, this is the very famous and very popular among young people bubble tea. Bubble tea is tea of today and very, very popular among the younger generation. Although, like I said, if you are from the traditional tea culture, then bubble tea is something that uh, is a little bit offensive to the tea culture connoisseurs, because to them, bubble tea culture is not the same as tea culture at all. If I just want to keep talking about tea and tea culture, I can probably go on for the rest of the evening. But I think for now, this is enough to give you guys a glimpse into how complex the, the culture of drinking tea, making tea, and sharing tea is to Chinese people. I hope you guys have fun, and I'll be back again tomorrow for some Toy Thursday, where we'll look at some more spooky Halloween related action figures. For now, 晚安 and 再见.